What is up, all you beautiful internet people? Welcome into another edition of The Sweat. Adam Kaufman, Jessie Coffield, and we're here to help you guys get those fantasy football lineups set. Yeah. Feel the giving spirit, you know, ready to make you some money. That's nice.
Yeah, it's going to be lit, too. Fun fact. Yeah, you see what we did there? If you download the DK Live app right now, you can grab even more analysis from our experts, injury news, play-by-play updates for your lineups during games, making sure you don't miss a thing.
We don't like to miss anything.
Yeah, glowing.
So before we bring in our panel, let's update the people at home on some early inactives for the day.
Sure. All right. Well, there are a bunch. Tyler Boyd, Randall Cobb, Quincy Onunwa, Lamar Miller, Kiki Qt, all out today.
Plus, OBJ, James Conner, Sammy Watkins, and Spencer Ware not going to go.
She took the easy ones.
Yeah, I did. But we're going to keep those inactive updates coming as the news rolls in. For now, let's say hello to the bright, shiny, happy faces that comprise our NFL panel, DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler, plus the fantasy girl, Rosalie Michaels. Wow, Jeff, get lit!
See, he and I, just like-minded, although he looks especially happy to be here. First item of business on our Sunday Fun Day rundown, and for many of you, Championship Week. Best of luck, obviously. Spin move. Basically, we put a fantasy spin on today's NFL headlines. So the Rams, they've dropped 2 straight, have not looked like themselves at all, and they could be without their best player, Todd Gurley. Possibly. Now, he is expected to play as long as he doesn't have a setback in warm-ups, but they care a lot more about their guy than they do this particular win. Even so, are you concerned that his usage it won't be what it usually is since he's not 100% Reed? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm worried here. Look, I like Todd Gurley in season long, right? You have to play him in that spot, and Jeff's going to rattle off some guys that you can put in, which I don't mind, right, in DFS. You're not going to pay at 9,200 if they've come out and they've said, look, we're worried about this. We want to make sure he's ready for the actual playoffs. And so, yeah, I'd fade him in DFS here at 9,200. Like, GPP is fine. You can go there, but I don't think you have to. There's a lot of guys on this slate, obviously, who are cheaper than him and who are in better spots. Nick Chubb, right, is someone that's $2,000 cheaper that I'd feel more comfortable playing than Todd Gurley. And all of these, right, even with Melvin Gordon, we didn't really know how his usage was going to be. It worked out, right, yesterday, but at the same time, it's just you don't know, right? So I'm going to say you fade this and go elsewhere because paying that 9,200 is too much.
Jeff, you gave us some of your feedback going back to Friday's show when we started to get some more news about Gurley. You weren't too high on it at the time. You reconsidered it all?
Not really. I mean, look, all the reports said the team doesn't want him to play. The fact he's playing is because he wants to play, and he's checked out. It's probably not going to injure him further, right? But if the Rams get out to like a 10-0 start in the first quarter, you're going to see C.J. Anderson pretty quick here. And I think if they're still ahead by over 2 scores in the second half, you might not see Todd Gurley play many snaps in the second half. You're taking a huge risk here. I don't care what format you're playing. I think you have to sit Todd Gurley. I think the only way he plays significant snaps this week, and I'm talking like over 50% of the snaps, is if Arizona somehow keeps this close. So if you want to rely on the Arizona Cardinals offense to keep this close against the Rams, go ahead. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to play Todd Gurley at all. I think rather, if you want to attack this game, just go with the Rams passing options. They're all going to be under-owned, especially on DraftKings.
Rosalie, where do you land here?
Yeah, I'm with the guys on this. You know, there's just, if this was a smaller slate, you know, maybe he's somebody you take a chance on just because there's not a lot of options, but there's so many options today, as both Reed and Jeff were mentioning. So why take the chance on Gurley, who probably is not going to play the whole game? There's no reason for him to risk getting injured further. So I'm with the guys. I don't have anything more to add that they haven't mentioned already. You know, go Zeke for a little bit less money and a better matchup.
Guys, Juju Smith-Schuster was listed as questionable all week, but he came through on social media yesterday announcing he wants to play for his fantasy owners. You've just got to love Twitter. So, Rosalie, knowing his motivation, is he a must roster despite that $8,000 price tag?
No, I love that he's shouting out to his fantasy people, you know, championship week and season long. So it's, you know, it's kind of important. So in season long, obviously, yes, you're going to play him. But in daily, you know, no, it's kind of the same thing with what, you know, what we were saying about Gurley. Here's the thing. It's not worth the risk when you have so many other options. And New Orleans is actually really good against the slot, which is where Juju spends 65% of his time. I think this is going to be much more of an A-B game anyway. and he's only $300 more than Juju. So if I'm going for a Steelers wide receiver, I'm aiming towards AB. I know we love Juju. His targets make him really consistent. He's always a safe play, but I don't think he puts up the big numbers today. I think that goes to AB.
Reed, he said he couldn't let down the real ones. Are you a real one?
Yeah, I love Juju in this spot. I think, especially to what Rosalie was saying, right, that sentiment around injured players. And when we see that little red Q letter by their name, you kind of go away from him. But look, she mentioned it. This guy is seeing 11 targets. And he's come out and he said, look, I'm going to be in the smash spot. If you want to buy into that narrative, of course. But he's playing because they need him to win, right? They want to make sure that they're still in the playoff hunt. They still bolster their playoff spot. Look, we've seen his ceiling, 36 against Oakland, 40 against Denver. This guy can score. So even if he's at 50%, and I get it, AB is in a great spot as well, but like PJ Williams, he gets PJ Williams, and he is not good out of the slot, especially in man coverage, and that's where Juju smashes. So I'm liking this price tag at 8,000, especially if the ownership stays at a minimal around 15 to 16%. I'm going to trust him.
Yeah, Jeff, people might be off him because of that groin injury, and he's going up against that Saints defense, allowing a league-leading 28.3 fantasy points to wide receivers this season. Kind of feels like this could be a good spot.
I think if you're looking at everything objectively coming in, assuming Juju Smith-Schuster was healthy, yeah, I'd probably say you should just play him. But he got downgraded in the middle of the week. That's not good. He missed practice on Friday. He's obviously not 100%. Like, it's pretty obvious this guy's coming in at way less than 100%. So, A, risk of an in-game injury. B, like, not going to be as explosive. And I just don't know why, because right now he's projecting to be actually one of the more popular receivers on the slate. This might change with some of this injury news, but he's coming out yesterday now. It's only going to boost his popularity with this Twitter stuff in the big GPPs on DraftKings. I'm actually 100% with Rosalie here. Play Antonio Brown. This is a massive game for Pittsburgh. Where do you think Ben is going to go? Is he going to go to the hobbled wide receiver who might be out there as a decoy? Is he going to go to Antonio Brown? You might get Antonio Brown at close to half the ownership. So I'm all in on Antonio this week.
Well, Juju is averaging about 26 fantasy points per game on the road this year, so something to think about. Another guy who's pretty good at football and is officially active for the Falcons tilt with the Panthers today, that's Julio Jones. So, Jeff, is he worth 8,700?
I think people need to realize how questionable Julio Jones was to play today. He was very, very questionable. And I'm actually surprised he was going because Atlanta has nothing to play for here. So I don't know. I have no reason to trot out. Like, he's 8,700. He was very questionable to play. He sounds like he's even more injured than Juju Smith-Schuster. And you have a Panthers team who's starting Taylor Heineke. We saw them sort of pace it down last week, and they're probably going to do the same thing here. I just don't see any upside in playing this guy personally. If you're going to take a shot with someone in Atlanta receiving core, just play Calvin Ridley because he's probably going to get a lot more targets than usual this week. Again, Atlanta's nothing to play for. They don't have a reason to just keep targeting Julio over and over now. I have no interest in Julio Jones.
Well, Julio shares some of that same juju that Smith-Schuster has on the road this year, also averaging about 26 fantasy points per game away from home. It was easy. I'm just happy that Reed's already laughing before I've gone to him. What do you have, Fowler?
Oh, man.
Too
way
easy.
To start off this segment, right? A bunch of injury news and Kaufman with some bad puns. But, yeah, I'm with Jeff here. I think this is the high-priced and high-profile decoy that they want, right? I mean, Julio Jones at 8,700, I think that's an easy fade, especially at receiver, where we've seen other guys in smash spots healthy, like an OBJ a few weeks ago when he was healthy against Philly, or maybe longer than a few weeks ago, that when you pay up for receiver, it rarely works out. Adam Thielen has been a guy who we've paid up for, and it hasn't returned investment. Calvin Ridley and Mo Sanu, and these guys in these high implied game totals do a lot better. So I don't think you have to do this. I think you roll him out here, and this is Julio Jones's MO. He always comes into these games every single season where he doesn't practice all week, and then finally, come game time, he plays. And you just, like Jeff was mentioning, why would you trust this guy who has a history of being injured? So fade this guy. Like DeAndre Hopkins is the one guy that any injured receiver that we want to pay up for, he'd be the guy. So I'm with Jeff here, fade.
Guy looks like he's sitting on the set of the Nutcracker and he's deciding to make fun of me today. But all right, no big deal. Rosalie, what do you think? 8,700 worth it?
I think I love your puns.
Oh, thank you. I'm a fan of yours.
Don't pander to him.
Not pandering, but who couldn't use a good Juju pun? So, but yeah, I agree with the guys. I'm fading Julio here again. It's a team that has nothing to play for, and that's not the kind of game I'm targeting. I'm targeting the games where they want to score a lot, that they want to do more. And, you know, if I'm going for any injured player, like Reed said, I'm going for DeAndre Hopkins, you know, because I don't care if he's injured. He's going to play out every time. He's got a better matchup. I expect a big, huge day out of Hopkins, and he's $100 less than Julio. So yeah, I love the call. Get some Calvin Ridley or get some Mohamed Sanu, but I'm not paying up for Julio today.
Wow, guys, excellent spinning. Please take a break. You've definitely earned it. We've got plenty more to get to on the sweat, including Chaser Fade Game Spreads Edition.
Pat Mayo here with an exciting new way to heat up your Sundays this football season. DraftKings has teamed up with Buffalo Wild Wings to bring you a fantasy experience like no other. Blazin' Fantasy Football, a new free game only available inside Buffalo Wild Wings restaurants. Want to win free wings for a year, game tickets, Buffalo Wild Wings gift cards, or Blazin' Rewards points? Here's how. Head to Buffalo Wild Wings, download the Blazin' Rewards app, and join. Already a member? Not a problem. Just log in and fire up the app. Click or tap the Blazin' Fantasy Football icon, join a contest, draft your lineup, and get ready to compete against rivals in all Buffalo Wild Wings restaurants. Blaze your way up the leaderboard by drafting who you think will be the top 8 players, including kickers. Best part? You've got a chance to really rack up the score with your blazing pick. It's worth double points, so choose wisely. Don't just wing it. Draft your team in one of Sunday's 4 contests before each half of the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern games. Then, grab some wings, sit back, and watch your team light up the leaderboard. Come back every Sunday for new contests each week. DraftKings and Buffalo Wild Wings, the right stack for Sundays.
Well, this is very exciting for us, live from Vegas, bright and early. Please say hello to Ed Malinowski, manager of DraftKings Sportsbook Hub Operations.
Now, Ed is giving us an inside look at what's going on at the Sportsbook.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Great to have me on.
Thanks for joining us. So, Ed, what are the storylines that you're seeing this morning that are impacting the money?
So, I think the biggest storyline is how we're looking at the NFL right now in the league compared to 3-4 weeks ago. You know, the Rams, Chiefs, and Saints were so far out ahead of the field, it looked like, and now they've taken a step back. So that's impacting how the money's being wagered today. You know, the Saints, they lost 2 weeks ago to the Dallas Cowboys, and then they only put up 12 points on Monday night. Kansas City is 2-2 in their last 4, and the Rams, you know, they lost their last 2. With that said, Dallas turns around and lays an egg and doesn't score last week. So, you know, how we're looking at the league now compared to 3 weeks ago is drastically different. And, you know, New England lost their last 2 games. When was the last time they've gone to lose 3 games in a row? So I think that's how it's affecting now how the money's coming in.
Well, even losing 2 in a row for New England in December hasn't happened since 2002. So you're right. The way we're looking at the league is a little bit different right now. Which line changed the most this week and why?
So the biggest line change we've seen, we opened up the Philly Texan game at a pick'em, and now it's up to Philly minus 2.5, and kind of makes me scratch my head because, you know, we have Foles in the backup role, which he thrives on. So that helps the situation, and they're home, of course. But Houston, you know, they're on a 10-1 run in the NFL. That's hard to do. It's the quietest, you know, 10-1 run I've ever seen in the NFL. So why it's moving 2.5? Obviously, you know, there's certain reasons. The Eagles are home, and Houston's in a better playoff spot. But the fact that this line's moving 2.5, yeah, it's kind of puzzling to me.
Ed, let's take a look at the 1 p.m. slate. Which game stands out to you specifically?
The Viking game. They're playing the Lions, who they beat in Week 9. Vikings had such high hopes in the beginning of the year and then kind of came out a little flat, and we all forgotten about them. And now they're back in the playoff picture. And even though they've been 500 the last few weeks, they control their own destiny. And really, Detroit has nothing to play for. Besides being at home today, they have nothing to play for. So it's really a game where if Minnesota needs to really step up and, you know, take advantage of this situation they're in.
And what advice would you give to bettors who are new to gambling, people that are just diving into this whole process?
Well, I would say join DraftKings and take advantage of all the promo. But besides that, I think for new gamblers, they really have to control their bankroll. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Control your bankroll. No one game's worth, stepping out if you're new to gambling. Take it as an entertainment purpose for the time being, and always shop for the best line. Make sure you're getting the best value for what you're wagering. But definitely bankroll management, I see, is the biggest problem for new gamblers.
Thanks, Ed. We're going to check back with you later in the show for an update on all things sportsbook. We appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, in the meantime, let's chase or fade NFL spreads with DK Live duo Steve Buchanan and Reed Fowler.
So, Reed, the Patriots will be without Josh Gordon. No comment. But they're still big favorites this week when they host the Bills. So chase or fade, the Pats cover the 13.5-point spread.
Yeah, this is a lot, and shout out to Steve Buchanan's sweater game as well. It's been on point this entire week, so I do like that. Yeah, I'm going to chase this. Look, the Patriots, like we've mentioned, they first back-to-back loss since 2002, but at home it's a different story. I know there's reports that there's going to be a mass exodus of coaches leaving the Patriots. Who knows if that's true? All of that being said, look, the Patriots against the Bills, tough division game, obviously, but look, 8 of last 10 matchups have gone to New England. Margin of victory at home as home favorites is only plus 7.5, and so that kind of scares you. And obviously, Josh Allen and that defense are promising storylines in this matchup, but I think the Patriots take this. So I'm going to chase this 13-point, which is big, but I'll chase it.
It's big. Any faith in the Bills Mafia here, Steven?
I'll tell you what's big, that giant statue that's behind Reed. What the heck is that?
Hot Take City.
Come on.
Sweatometer.
I can only imagine like getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and that dude's just standing there. Oh, okay. I don't know. Weird guy over there. I'm having a tough time with this number. I mean, the Patriots have been one of the better teams against the spread. They're 8-6 on the year, but 13 points feels like a lot. And it's not like the Bills defense is, they're not total pushovers at this point. And obviously, Tom Brady's without arguably one of his better receivers. The Bills have been good at limiting what opposing quarterbacks can do. And I think there's opportunities for the Bills to score here. I mean, obviously, Josh Allen, he can definitely run against his defense. We've seen quarterbacks do that already this season. Mahomes rushed for 81 yards. Watson rushed for 40. Blake Bortles, remember that guy? He rushed for 35. So I think the Patriots can win in this game, but 13 points feels like a lot to cover here. So I think I don't think the Patriots can cover here.
Ye of little faith. Panthers 2.5-point underdogs when they host the Falcons, probably because they'll be going with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, whoever the hell that is. First career start for him. Steve, chase or fade Panthers cover without Cam Newton?
No, I don't think they can with Heineken under center here. I just don't see him covering here. I mean, it's hard to feel great about an offense that really has been struggling offensively, and now they lost their quarterback. I mean, even with Cam Newton over the last 3 games, you're only averaging about 15 points per game. Honestly, Heineken is a little more, is he going to ignite this offense? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Heineken's, pretty good overall, but I don't know if it's going to help this offense here. It's a good matchup for the Panthers, which is too bad because I actually think that, with Cam Newton, if he was healthy, this would be a smash spot for him, but just don't feel good about it. I don't think they're going to cover here.
Reed, do you feel good?
I don't know if he meant to say Heineken. It's a little too early for that. Maybe. Okay, good. Maybe he said a couple. No. Look, I'm going to chase this. I'm going to take the risk here, and I'm going to chase this. Look, like Steve mentioned, right? Carolina would be in a smash spot if it's Cam Newton, but guess what? Cam Newton hasn't been playing that well. He's been injured, and Heineken or Taylor Heineke is going against
so much better.
I know Heineken light maybe, but look, it's the 32nd DVOA overall. Pass and rush DVOA is 30th, so. You're going to dump it off to Christian McCaffrey. You're going to dump it off to Ian Thomas. And I know Ian Thomas isn't a guy that you're exactly trusting, but Christian McCaffrey is. And so I think this game, they're going to try and slow it down, right? Give them chances to succeed. And I just don't trust Atlanta's defense, especially on the road. So give me Heineken here.
Okay, no Heinekens. Like we said, it's a little bit early. So the Browns got eliminated from the playoffs last night, so who knows what their morale will be like today, but they're 10-point favorites over the Bengals. Reed, it's still an accomplishment for Cleveland that they weren't eliminated from playoff contention until week 16. So chase or fade that Cleveland covers.
Yeah, accomplishment that they won more than 1 game or 2 games for that matter. I know, but I'm gonna fade this, right? -10 differential as home favorites. We just don't know how they're going to be at home. Like, I know Cincinnati is bad. I know they have a lot of things, a lot of injuries. a lot of things going downhill for these guys. But to beat a team in a month by this much twice, I know they beat them by 15, I believe, last time they met. I just think -10 is a little bit too much for me, especially with Baker. Like, he's playing above expectation, a really good storyline, but at the same time, -10. The same way Steve felt about the Patriots, I feel about Cleveland here, so I'm going to fade this.
Steven.
Yeah, I think Cleveland can cover here. I mean, the morale, the bar was so low from last season. Who cares? Like, that's not going to bother them here. But, the Browns have been one of the best teams against the spread this year. They're actually 9-5. I was a little surprised when I checked that up there. And the Bengals are averaging around 20 points over their last 3 games, but almost 30 points allowed on the year. I mean, obviously, it's hard to trust some of these guys on the Browns offense, but there's a lot of good spots here for them. Like, Nick Chubb is in such a great matchup here. I just think there's too many ways that the Browns can beat you. I mean, it sounds kind of funny. Against this Bengals defense, it's just absolutely atrocious. I mean, Tyler Boyd's out of this game. Obviously, they haven't had AJ Green forever. Like, there's just nobody offensively you really worry about on this on the Bengals side. Joe Mixon not really in a great spot here. So where are they going to put up the points? So I think the Browns can do it here.
Interesting stat here, too, from Ben Fox on Twitter. Last time these guys were favored by this much was when Bill Belichick was a coach in '92 against Cincinnati. So
wow, the sweatometer's broken.
Thank you, Ben Fox.
Yeah, I know.
All right, hey, Chase, afraid we should take a break, maybe hand it over to Pat Mayo for a little while.
Chase, for sure. Yeah, so without further ado, let's send it over to the PME studios.
Kaufman not looking out for anyone with any sort of epileptic problems with that.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, Kaufman. I haven't talked to you in ages, man.
Been too long, pal.
It's funny, they were just talking about the Patriots and them covering this number. They're going to cover this number. They're at home. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, don't worry about that one. Feel good about 13.5 against the Bills in Foxborough.
Now that Kaufman,
we do.
Now that, I was feeling good about it until Kaufman said that. Jerk.
Well, you ask Tim questions on your show. So
that's
really,
so I know what to do. The opposite of.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, when I'm out for a little bit, I need to get Koff and Andrew Cuss together. They did a show together, and it was ludicrous. Koff didn't know what to make of forecast. But let's talk about some of the money that is flowing to either side of the betting lines. Is there one game that stands out to you that you really like? Because I love Houston this week.
I think the line that I like the most isn't even a game line. It's just an over-under. As we talked about on the show today, I love pounding the under in that Saints-Steelers game. I just don't see how that's getting to 53 points.
Now, do you think it's smarter to just bet the under, or because that's going to be the most stacked game on DraftKings in terms of game stack, people playing Breeze, Roethlisberger, all these places, to just fade that game and go to one of the other high-ish scoring games, whether it be, I like a Colts-Giants game stack, because you can go Luck, Hilton, is if you fade Marlon Mack. You can go Luck, Hilton, Ebron, bring it back with Barkley. It's looking pretty good. Maybe Ingram, too.
It's not looking bad. I'll say that.
Double tight end?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of stock, DFS stock in that particular game. I look at the Saints.
$3,000. He back.
I don't have the confidence you have. I just look. They've been cycling receivers in and out. What's his snap share going to be? 30%?
Maybe, but he's just going to run fly routes down the field.
That I cannot.
I went to go look for Ted Ginn first touchdown.
I don't have it.
They thought that he wasn't going to play, so he's just a part of the field. But he would have been like 50-1. That would have been a good bet. But if you can find it on the DraftKings Sportsbook, first touchdown Ted Ginn, I don't hate that.
It's not the worst bet in the world. I'll say that much.
So here's the problem. I gave this out actually on the show on Friday that I did with Ulrich, that you can play like the stinky team parlay of the week. And the first leg's already hit, but obviously you can't retroactively go back and bet the Redskins and all of the points. So what you can do is take the Cardinals, the Jags, and the Giants, parlay them together. It's just too many points in all of those games. The Jags are 4. If they get down to 3, I think it's a 3-point game. That's why I like the 4.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much for a Dolphins team that, while they have been good at home and the Jaguars have been bad on the road, we're talking about a team that has, I believe, a negative 70-point differential so far this season. Like, they're not a good team. They don't deserve to get an extra point.
No, they don't. The Jags and Dolphins.
The Cardinals thing is a little interesting.
Well, the Cardinals thing is, I just think like everyone's been talking about this Todd Gurley thing, and no one really knows. It does look like he's going to play, but if they get up by a certain amount,
probably just going to fold it.
They're just going to fold it in. Like if they get up by 20, like that game just reeks of backdoor cover, or it's just a game because the pass rush. We've seen over the past few weeks that if a team has a pass rush and they get in Goff's grill, all of a sudden the Rams can't score no more. And the Cardinals, they do one thing well.
They have a good pass rush.
Get to the passer. That's it.
It's true.
What's total sacks?
There's nothing about what the Cardinals have done in recent weeks that inspires me to think they can score more than 10 points.
They scored 17 or 20 while beating the Packers.
Yeah. Well, talking about teams that have folded it in.
I don't buy into that, by the way. I know a lot of people, that's like the convenient narrative. I would just
they're just bad.
Like, don't play Julio Jones. The team has nothing to play for. If the team had nothing to play for, Julio Jones wouldn't be playing.
I'm with you on the Julio front.
Like, I don't get that. Like, if you're playing, if you play football at half speed, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, no. If a guy is playing, he's going to play. I mean, at the end of the day, no one is playing to win a championship. Most people are playing to get paid.
Yeah,
and you can still get paid for what you do in Week 16. So
I'm gonna find this total sack number because it feels like that should be high in that Rams. Because Rosen's getting sacked.
I would say I'd take the over 5.5.
You have to follow me at the PME on Twitter when I finally find that number.
Yeah.
If it's 5.5, I would take the over.
I would take the over too.
That'd be better than. What about Josh Allen rushing yards? We talk about this every week.
Finally didn't hit.
We're now 3 for 4 on Josh Allen rushing yards.
You'd have to think that Belichick would be the one coach in football who would definitely spy him.
Sure, and maybe this is a good time to throw back to the DK Live studios because that's the end of us. I'll ask Kaufman because he's the Patriots insider, Adam Kaufman, when it comes to all this stuff. He's probably not even paying attention. But Kauf, if you're out there and you're paying attention, you know that Belichick is going to scheme against Josh Allen to limit the running.
Sure.
My question to you is, do the Patriots defenders actually have enough speed to keep up with Josh Allen?
Probably not. I mean, they obviously can go with Nick Aitling to, be that third-string QB, that scout team quarterback, and do the best they can. But once they get into the game that matters, no, it's not a particularly good defense. And I think we've seen that inconsistency and the numbers reflected in it throughout the course of the year. So, no, they're going to put up some points inevitably, but Patriots should go out maybe a little bit extra motivated after these 2 straight losses and the bigger loss of Josh Gordon.
Yeah,
I mean, the spread went up after they lost Josh Gordon.
Weird dynamic, isn't it?
Everyone's like, woo!
That's a relief.
That was crazy. Yeah. All right, let's forget that.
Mayo, awesome stuff. We'll connect again soon.
Yeah, no, I got more questions for you, Kaufman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's do a little back and forth.
No, it's good. Eat some clock.
It's the season. You're making me lose my mind with your blinking shirt. But
I'm surprised you don't have something.
This could just be misremembering things and only remembering the times where this happened. But don't the Patriots really struggle with mobile quarterbacks?
They do, but again, I mean,
we do. Listen to you.
I didn't say we. I said they. They do.
I think we could pull up some GIFs that would illustrate that point.
No, they do, but not to there's a level of mobile quarterback, that they tend to struggle with. I mean, keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers is a mobile quarterback. They beat him already this year. Deshaun Watson's a mobile quarterback. They beat him. I don't think they're too concerned with Josh Allen, because the guy, he's a lot better on the ground than he is in the air. And in the air is, honestly, they tend to thrive in that area anyway. So we'll see about the run defense and what it tends to be.
Jesse, can you get on board with my Houston? You can go Houston money line or the +2.5. I like both of these.
Pat, I'm always just going to take your side, okay?
That's a bad idea. I'm under 500 for the year. You don't want to be taken by side. Yeah, but the other side is very profitable.
I want to be on your side because you're really popular on social media and stuff. I think I should just agree with you.
Now it's the other way. Ask Koff about this, being antagonistic towards me, and on the other side is how you get the follow. Although I have a big following, they're not all likers. Most of them are just haters.
Ooh,
it really is. It's the great thing about Mayo is that he will openly and actively tell people, listen, whichever way I go the other way if you want to make money, and yet people still follow along.
Well, you gotta love that.
So, yeah.
Loyal. They're loyal.
I think it's the entertainment. It could be Cust. If you ditch Cust, your follower base could go way, way down. You got to keep him around.
I know. We did do a draw like 2 weeks ago that you had to unfollow Cust on Twitter. And people were just like, this is great. This is good for my mental health, not hearing about Tim Andrews.
Got to love the man. Got to catch up with him again soon. We'll do a show soon, you and I. We'll mix Gary in too. It'll be great.
Gary looks sad sitting over here.
No, just relaxing. I'm taking a break. This is great.
Chilling out.
Garion will be coming up a little bit later on with Thorne in his side on the sweat, but that's the end of me on the sweat for 2018. I almost said 2019, but I hope everyone out there has a great show. And I got new shows on the PME all this week: Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after, Boxing Day. I think that's what they call it. Either way, new shows, 6 new shows this week. So tune into that.
Shouldn't he know what Boxing Day is?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'll be honest. I'm just floored. Nobody was in our ear the last 5 minutes saying, "All right,
what are you guys doing?
Let's go."
I think they've cut out. Our lines have cut out. Yeah.
Maybe they're grabbing lunch.
Yeah.
Right about noontime Eastern. All right. Anyway, awesome stuff, Pat. As always, speaking of awesome stuff, Adam Levitan with Papa John's Make Your Pick. Enjoy.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tyler Sullivan, alongside DK Live's Adam Levitan and Reed Fowler. They're here to help make your picks for DraftKings Team Pick'em. It's presented by Papa John's. You get 25% off any regular menu price orders by using the promo code DK25. We're looking at 3 games in the NFL as we enter Week 16. And first up, guys, we're looking at the Patriots hosting the Bills. Patriots, losers of 2 straight. First back-to-back losses in December since 2002. They are undefeated at home this year, though. Reed, so who do we like?
Yeah, I'm going with the Patriots here. I think it'd be a cute call if we wanted to go Buffalo in this spot. But at home, New England, winners of 8 of last 10 against the Bills. I mean, again, these guys aren't looking as good. The Patriots, that being said, the Buffalo Bills aren't going to be able to go into Foxborough after these 2 losses. Patriots do give up the 8th most rushing yards so far this season to quarterbacks, but I'm trusting Bill Belichick. I did last week. I'm going to do it again. Hopefully it works out for me this time. So Patriots for me.
All right, Levy?
Yeah, regular viewers of this segment know that I almost never take the Patriots when we talk about them, but this is just too difficult of a spot, I think, for the Bills. New England will be motivated for this game as they try to get home field advantage, get a bye in the AFC playoffs, and perhaps more importantly, the Bills come in just absolutely ravaged by injury at the running back position at a couple other key positions. So I like the Bills. I like what the Bills are doing on defense. I like how aggressive they are on offense, but going into Foxborough, I think it's going to be too tall of a task.
All right, well, one team that's trying to keep the lead on the Patriots in the AFC playoff pictures, the Texans. They head to Philly to take on the Eagles, who are hot off the heels of upsetting the Rams in L.A. Levy, is Nick Foles really going to do this again?
Yeah, I actually thought the Eagles would play well and win this game against the Texans even before they came out against the Rams and won that game on Sunday night. This Eagles team playing at home still has a shot to make the playoffs. I think that Deshaun Watson can struggle in environments where he can get a lot of pressure on him, and that's what the Eagles do well. So an Eagles team that will be very pass happy, won't have much of a run game. That's the way you beat the Texans anyways. I think the Eagles find the way here.
Reed, how do you see this matchup?
Yeah, I just think this might be the mini Super Bowl hangover or the microcosm of what the Eagles have been facing all season. Like, they've been decimated by injuries as well in the secondary. And although they played up to it right in prime time against a Rams team that essentially has been tough to beat, they are showing some weaknesses. They're going through a little drought themselves. I just like Houston in this spot, like a top 10 defense. And over the last 4 of last 5 games, look, they've done really well. 2 of those, again, winning on the road. It'll be interesting to see, right? Like Levy was saying, Watson being away outside of that dome in Houston, but I just think this defense is too strong. I don't have faith yet in Foles. If he does it again, though, if he beats the Texans, watch out for this guy as one of the best in history as a backup quarterback. So I still got the Texans in this one.
Certainly some magic there with Foles. I don't know what it is, but we'll see if it goes even further. All right, the Bears were able to clinch the NFC North in Week 15, but they're still fighting for a potential first-round bye. They'll be in San Francisco taking on the 49ers. Levy, how are we looking at this game?
Yeah, I mean, they have offensive linemen getting married on the field after the game, and they're celebrating their division championship, and now they have to go on the road out of division to San Francisco team, which I've liked and been on for the last few weeks now. I mean, this team continues to play really, really hard. Nick Mullins is really, really underrated. Dante Pettis, George Kittle, their defense continues to play well and play hard, specifically at home. So I think a more difficult spot than it seems on paper for this Chicago Bears team, who I'm still skeptical about their offense, particularly once they get away from Soldier Field.
Reed, how do you see this shaking out?
Yeah, San Francisco is one of the most exciting teams to watch, if that makes sense, right? This team, before they've been decimated with their own set of injuries, was one of the top teams, but a testament to Kyle Shanahan and what he's able to do with Nick Mullins, right, a third string. He had Jeff Wilson in there for a game or two. And he keeps these guys fantasy relevant. Yeah, and the dog's barking because it's true. You like the Niners in this spot. But having said that, I get it, right? The Bears, they already clinched their division. They beat the Packers, which has been their kryptonite for a long time. I can't get away from the fact that the Bears have such a strong defense. Look, the Niners are really good at home. When they're away, they're bad. They're losing by a margin of about 16. They're really good at home. But I still think the Bears take this one. Matt Nagy has this team rolling. The offense is suspect, but that defense is too strong.
It was more just a delayed reaction from the Eagles takes there, feeling that underdog vibe there. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's edition of Make Your Pick on DraftKings Team Pick'em, presented by Papa John's. For Adam and Reed, I'm Tyler Sullivan. We'll talk to you next week.
Welcome back to the Sweat. Time to talk anchors, and we don't pretend to be the experts here. We don't. That's what DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Steve Buchanan are here for.
Yeah, somebody has to pretend. All right, we're not just talking anchors. We're also going to get your DST picks, but we can start with anchor picks, I think. Jeff, take it away.
First of all, what is with Gary and Pat's obsession with Josh Allen? I think they're long-lost relatives. Every show. I'm putting it up there. Anyways. Okay, I'm going with Antonio Brown here. Yeah, okay, everyone wants to get on social media and all of a sudden play Juju Smith-Schuster because him posting on social media is going to cure his groin injury. Look, this comes down to a couple of things. First, in GPPs, Antonio Brown's going to be one of the lowest-end receivers of that high-end bunch. Julio Jones is banged up. Juju Smith-Schuster's banged up. DeAndre Hopkins is banged up, and nobody wants to play Antonio Brown in a must-win game. I think he could approach 12, 15 targets here. This is a very important spot. I think Ben's going to go to Antonio a lot. And it's really not that bad a matchup. I like Antonio Brown this week.
Bukes, how about you?
Yeah, Antonio Brown's not banged up. He's gone through no injuries. He's not sore. He wakes up every day. He does a kip up out of bed because he's so healthy.
He does.
Anyways. Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, this is not going to be the first time you hear about him. It's not going to be the last time. But, I mean, he's going up against the Eagles secondary. I mean, first of all, he gave me a heart attack. I was driving on the highway. I got the alert that all of a sudden he was a game-time decision. I almost caused like a 4-car pileup because I couldn't believe that he was going to, wasn't going to play. But we're good. We're good. I mean, we just saw what he did against his Jets defense, and they're so poor against the pass. Now he's going to go up against his Eagles secondary. I mean, look, the Eagles against opposing wide receiver ones are allowing an average of 93.5 yards per game. Just for reference, the Rams are number 2 in the league, and they allow just under 85 yards to wide receiver ones. I mean, Deshaun Watson's throwing the ball a lot more. There's no Lamar Miller in this game either. I don't think that's something that's been talked about enough this week. So Hopkins has just got to be the guy this week.
All right, we're going to get those DST picks now. So, Jeff, who are you looking at?
Yeah, there is actually a lot of DSTs in good spots this week. And you don't necessarily have to pay up, but, like, if you can pay up, play the Rams. I mean, this is a team who's coming off 2 kind of embarrassing losses, and they're playing the Arizona Cardinals, and it really just is as simple as that. Arizona is such a bad offense, last in points scored, last in basically almost every statistical category that you can create for an offense right now. That is how bad they are. And then you have Aaron Donald and a fully healthy secondary for the Rams coming in a game where they, the defense needs to dominate, so they don't need to play Todd Gurley. It's just too easy, honestly. So just pay up for the Rams if you can, in my opinion. Take those free points. Obviously, like I said, there's some cheaper ones in good spots, but if you can get up to the Rams, I think you just click on the LA Rams this week.
Steve, who you like?
Yeah, a little bit cheaper. I like the Dolphins against the Jaguars here. I mean, I just feel like they're too cheap for how turnover prone the Jacksonville Jaguars are. I mean, Kessler's had a fumble in every game he's played already this season, has 2 interceptions thrown in the 4 games he's appeared in. The Dolphins are averaging over an interception a game at this point. They have 20 on the season. And then we see this game total, it continues to go down. It's gone down to 38 since it opened. So I feel like this is a spot where you can save some money. Like the Rams are in a fantastic spot, but this is kind of a week where I find myself paying up at a lot of positions. So even though 3,200 isn't a lot of money, the Dolphins make things fit a little bit more at 2,700. I think they're in the great spot.
There is a lot of cheap defenses in play. I think you go down to the Eagles. You could go down to the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots aren't in a bad spot. So like I said, you don't have to pay up for defense, but I think both the Dolphins and Rams are pretty high upside spots.
Good stuff, Jeff. We like that. You could pay down, but if you want to, pay up for the Rams. Got it. So excellent work, you guys. We love you. Please take 5. Take a minute.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah, please. No, really, step aside. All right, while they take a break, let's say hello to DK Live's Reed Fowler, also the fantasy girl, Rosalie Michaels, for our stack segment. Pretty self-explanatory. Who are you stacking? Rosalie, who's involved in your top stack?
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Got you now, yep.
Now you can hear me. So my top stack this week, I love Dak and Zeke this week. Man, I know it's expensive. Zeke at $9K. Dak's only at $5,700, so not bad. But you know what? Tampa Bay last 5 weeks, they've given up a low of 25.1 and a high of 46.1 to running backs. That's a lot of fantasy points. So if Zeke's floor is at 25 and his high, feeling could go into 50s. We've seen it out of other running backs. And they give up the 4th most fantasy points on the year to quarterbacks. They give up the 3rd most points per game to opposing offenses. I like that. That's a lot of points being scored. 128 rushing yards a game, 258 passing yards a game. This is just a defense that you can exploit. It's going to be a bounce back game for the Cowboys after getting embarrassed in Indy last week. But Cowboys are 6-1 at home, and Dak averages 21.8 DK fantasy points a game at home, and Zeke averages 25.9. It's a lot of points, and it's just cannot get away from that stack.
Okay, Reed. So Rosalie likes the Cowboys. Where are you looking?
Yeah, I'm going off of what Jeff was mentioning on the other side of the ball, obviously, with Goff and Woods. This projected ownership, again, not as high as we once initially thought. At the beginning of the season, probably coming in around at 10% total, 26% of that salary cap, so it's pretty expensive. But Woods is probably going to get Patrick Peterson, but what he did week 2 was 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 81 yards. So this guy is as safe as they come. Outside of week 1, he's hit double-digit DK fantasy points every single week. Now you got the 29th ranking in DVOA in terms of coverage there. I just don't like Arizona's defense, even though they've played, right? Their defensive line, like Maya was saying, is really good. Their secondary has played a little bit above average, but in a smash spot like these guys have been mentioning, I do like that, and especially if Gurley can't go, right? These receivers obviously get a bump. I like Woods the best, so give me Goff and Woods, my top stack.
Let's go the other way here, Fantasy Girl. Who's your good contrarian stack?
I can't, every time I do a contrarian, I always say, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I'm actually saying the New York Jets, I like what's going on there now that Sam Darnold is back. Sam Darnold at 4,900 and Robbie Anderson at 4,500. Green Bay giving up 225 passing yards a game and the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers. And they're averaging about 20 fantasy points to QBs over the past 5 weeks. Now you look at Sam Darnold last week against a very good Houston defense. He went 24 for 38 with 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he rushed a couple of times as well, so they're getting some offense going there in New York. And with Enunwa out, even without Enunwa out, Anderson is just drawing the targets right now. 18 targets over the past 2 weeks. And he's had 11 catches for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that Darnold's going to look to Anderson a lot again this week. And Green Bay gives up the 3rd most fantasy points to perimeter receivers over the last 8 weeks. So I really like this matchup for both Robbie and Sam Darnold.
Reed, how are you going to follow up some Jets praise here?
Oh, man. I'm going with, as Jeff mentions, the Falcons here with Mo Sanu and Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, another guy, right, that we don't really like to play, obviously hasn't performed up to snuff. Sarkisian, whatever you want to say about the Falcons and what they're able to do, it's been tough to trust them. That's going to be 21% of the salary if you go with Mo Sanu and Matt Ryan. 25 DK fantasy points on the road, right? Matt Ryan over the last few games has been playing well, playing better. Atlanta defense, right, giving up 27 points. So these are going to be high-scoring games, giving up 27 points on the road. And look, Mo Sanu, over the 7 games that Atlanta has been favored by over 50, he's averaging around 12.4 DK fantasy points, and it's hit double digits in 5 of those 7 games. So when they have these high implied game totals, and with Julio Jones in, that keeps Mohamed Sanu in the slot 60% of the time. I love targeting him. I like Calvin Ridley, but I like Mo Sanu more, especially because of those red zone targets. And I like that Julio Jones is playing as that potential decoy. It's going to be cheaper than top stack, obviously, and that Carolina defense, not that good in the secondary. So that'll be my contrarian stack.
All right, before we let you guys go, let's mix in some viewer questions. Chris Higgins wants to know, and Rosalie, we'll start with you here, Goff or Watson? Who do you like today?
Ooh, I love Watson today. Oh, yeah. Watson, all over Watson. I know that Reed mentioned Goff before, but I'm all over Watson and Hopkins today. That matchup is just sweet.
Reed, do you have that same enthusiasm?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that secondary. Look, I even like the Demaryius Thomas in this matchup as well. Like Steve mentioned, that secondary is bad. So, yeah, Watson here in a smash spot.
Reed, Irvin wants to know if he should start the Colts D or the Browns D.
The Browns D they're actually in a great spot. It's like we mentioned, right? The Browns being able to score different ways, like Steve was mentioning, and their defense playing well, right? Obviously, their pass defense is something that we like. The pass rush defense as well. So I'm taking the Browns here. The Colts, they've given up some points, so I like the Browns.
Rosalie, Galladay or Baldwin? That's from Luke.
Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna go Baldwin here. If Baldwin is well, I know that he's questionable again, right? So I like Baldwin in the slot. I really don't like Detroit against Minnesota's corners back there. So I'm going to say Baldwin over Galladay.
Hey, Reed, James is torn between Dak and Baker.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, Dak, this game in Dallas and Tampa Bay could be a low-scoring affair. We just don't know, right? Dallas defense really good. Tampa Bay's our defense obviously gives up a lot of points. So I'd rather go Baker in this spot. It's a tough one because Dak has been playing a little bit better. But this is a Zeke game, in my opinion. So give me Baker in that spot.
It's just a good thing we didn't ask Rosalie that one because she loves herself some Dak today. Big Dak fan.
I do love myself some Dak today.
All right, thanks to you both. We got Put Up Your Bukes is next after we get Pat Mayo's Buffalo Wild Wings blazing picks for today's games.
Pat Mayo here with Sunday's blazing game day picks presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. After the Week 15 bloodbath, where every good player was trash, Week 16 provides us with a revenge opportunity to get last week out of your mind and go right back to Ezekiel Elliott. After getting embarrassed in Indy last week, Dallas needs to right their offense against a terrible Bucs squad. Fun fact, Tampa ranks 31st against the run, and their defense gives up over 6 more points on the road than at home. Even with a bunch of backs in favorable spots, Zeke's opportunity is the greatest in Week 16. At receiver, we could just go to the other side of the ball and go with Adam Humphries or Chris Godwin, maybe Robbie Anderson and his 29% market share against the Packers. All are good, cheap options. But come on, keep rolling out DeAndre Hopkins. Still fighting, and with an inside track on the AFC bye, the Texans aren't taking the foot off the gas just yet, meaning all DeAndre Hopkins all the time. Expect double-digit targets, including some in the red zone. And even though they looked better a week ago, the Eagles secondary is still comprised of practice squatters. It's one of the most favorable matchups on the entire slate. Finally, a pivot. Let's get back on the Andrew Luck bandwagon. Usually a solid move coming off a down week. Notice I didn't say bad week, because Luck was solid against the Cowboys. He just didn't toss a TD pass. That evil Marlon Mack stole all of his thunder. Now, if T.Y. Hilton and Eric Ebron don't have the ball bounce off their hands in the end zone, we're telling a different story. This week, Luck's going to get his shots against the Giants. Hopefully, his receivers don't let him down again. Those were your blazing game day picks presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm Pat Mayo.
Guys, we're monitoring key inactives all show long. So far here, we got T.Y. Hilton active, Julio Jones active, Randall Cobb inactive, Matt Stafford's in, Kenny Galladay's in, Chris Ivory, he's going to be out, Randall Cobb's out, Ryan Fitzpatrick also out, Deshaun Jackson in, Xavier Howard out, TJ Yeldon out.
Want to make sure we tell you about Odell Beckham Jr., Spencer Ware, Lamar Miller, Quincy Enunwa, Tyler Boyd, bunch of guys that are also going to be out. But now that you're up to date, we'll keep you posted as things move along. Get ready to defend yourself, all right? Put up your bukes. DK Live, Steve Buchanan, and Jeff Ulrich back with us. Steve, who's the first buke? Who do you love today?
That was a terrible intro, Kaufman.
I'm sorry.
This is the highest rated segment on the internet, Kaufman. It
yeah,
deserves better.
It's the highest rated internet on the segment. Loved by all, hated by none.
Right. Until I see the numbers to back that up, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, because everybody listens to Kaufman. So listen, we're going to talk about James White here at 5,200 for 16 DK fantasy points. This is a scary spot. Obviously, White's not someone we've been able to trust. And a lot of hype is going around that, Chris Hogan, Philip Dorsett are going to be the one to grab the targets that were once occupied by Josh Gordon. But I think this is a spot where James White can really kind of get his groove back. I mean, the Bills' run defense has been extremely up and down this season. Bills allow an average of 37 receiving yards to opposing backs, but White has fallen so far down in salary. This is someone who, when they faced him earlier this season, was priced at $8,800. I mean, this is a game that he had 25.4 DK fantasy points. He caught 10 balls for 79 yards and also had a rushing touchdown. And I don't think it's not a coincidence that Tom Brady in his press conference earlier this week said that when James White gets the ball, things tend to happen. So if Brady's going to be singing the praises about James White in a matchup that now they no longer have Josh Gordon, kind of has me thinking this could be a good spot for him. So I'm going to roll it. Hopefully it isn't working out. But, yeah, I think James White, I think he's in a good spot this week.
Might be the highest-rated segment on the internet. You keep talking like that. Jeff, I'm not going to criticize that pick. What do you think, 16 points for James White?
I'll admit, Steve forced me to do a little bit of research on James White here because he was off my radar before. And I admit, when I first saw it, I kind of hated it. But look, the Bills have been playing a little bit faster with Josh Allen as quarterback. You look at the Patriots roster, who do you really want to take a shot with? Chris Hogan did nothing in an every snap role at the beginning of the season. I like Cordell Patterson, but he's still hit or miss. Dorsett is not anything to me, really. So it does make sense that they would get him more involved in this game and get him back, because if they're going to go anywhere, they're probably going to have to rely on him a lot more with Josh Gordon out. So I can't say I hate it. It's not a guy I'm probably going to have a ton of exposure to personally, but I think for GPPs at 5,200, and that's the other factor in this, he's at the price you want to take a shot with James White. He's not 6,400 anymore. It's 52. It's very price friendly now. So I actually can get behind this a little bit. It's more of a GPP play for sure. I don't think I quite trust him in cash game. I don't think I trust any Patriot in cash game right now. But James White, I like this one. I admit, you've turned me from James White hater to a James White non-hater.
Oh, wow, Steve. So who's your next?
Hell of a place to start.
Jeff might agree on that one, too.
I don't agree on that.
This is the best segment. Calm down. All right, so let's talk about D.D. Westbrook at 4,900 versus the Dolphins. Obviously, I do like the Dolphins' defense overall, but this is somebody who can kind of slip through the cracks because where the Dolphins falter is by slot receivers. Bobby McCain has primarily been covering the slot for Miami. He has been a massive liability in coverage. He's already been scored on 5 times already this season, averaging an average of 11.6 yards per reception, 73% catch rate. Westbrook gets 13.4 DK fantasy points over his last 3 games, getting just under 7 targets in that range. And let's not forget, he's their primary punt returner too. We saw what he could do last week. He rushed one back for a touchdown. So, pairing them with the Jacksonville defense, which I don't think is a terrible play either. You could double dip in that realm if he's able to replicate that again this week. He's really not that expensive. 4,900 on a week where you probably want to save some salary somewhere. His ownership is not going to be high either. Nobody wants to touch that Jaguars offense, and rightfully so. But again, GPP plays, I don't see how Westbrook could be a bad play here. But let's see what Jeff does, pulling a Julian here and say why it's not. There he is, Julian. Talk about him.
I think Julian might have made this pick for you, Steve, is the problem.
That is such an insult. That's not nice.
I kind of assumed that's might have been the case. Look, when I went to look up D.D. Westbrook, I just figured he'd be like 3,100. We were going to talk about him. He's 49. He's almost 5K. How can you afford to pay up for a Jacksonville receiver at 4,900? You can't. This is just Xavier Howard's back. Yeah, he might see some McCain, but I mean, this is a secondary that's deep again. And it's a good secondary. So it's not even a good matchup for D.D. Westbrook. When there's so many other options out there for you to pay up for, I can't do it. I mean, I get the punt return thing. That's nice. And look, if you're going to play Jacksonville defense, it does make an interesting correlation. But I'm not touching anything Jacksonville. Not a chance.
All right, Bukes. Well, you got him on one, not so much on the other. Let's see if you can win him over with this third one. You got one more. Take us outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just unfollowing Jeff on Twitter.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Let's talk about Blake Jarwin, 3,000 for 11 DK fantasy points with the Cowboys. I mean, he's been a big part of their offense lately. He's had 14 targets over the last 2 weeks. Now he faces the Buccaneers defense. I mean, come on. They're allowing him 14.8 DK fantasy points to opposing tight end, 69 average receiving yards. Nice. At 3,000, he's getting around 7 targets a game. I feel like it's impossible to ignore that type of play. I mean, he hasn't gone to look in the red zone over the past 2 weeks, but I still think it's a viable option here. You're really not going to get 7 targets from a guy who's in that 3K range. You look at who else is in that range. you really can't project anyone to have such a target share at 3K. So I feel like the value you're getting out of him is too much to ignore. He's not going to cost you much at all. His ownership might be a little bit high. I think people have actually realized this, and I think they've gotten on it more as the week's gone on. But still, that's not going to shy me away from playing. I'm definitely on Jarwin this week.
Well, I'm glad we got back on track. I mean, it's nice for you to give Julian one pick, but I mean, I'm glad you limited to one, Steve. So, no, Blake Jarwin, look, let's talk about the tight end position for a little, because obviously everyone's paying up for Evan Ingram, but where else do you go if you're trying to get off Evan Ingram? Do you pay up for George Kittle against the Bears, or Eric Ebron, who's probably going to see 4 targets again in a blowout and might drop half of them? I don't really want to do either of those things, so I think paying down makes sense. And Blake Jarwin is a good receiver. People had this guy projected to be the top tight end receiver for the Cowboys coming out of preseason. For whatever reason, Jason Garrett decided not to use him until like week 14, but he's got the talent to succeed in this spot. He's getting the targeting. I like it at 3K. I don't mind Dallas Goedert either as a pay down candidate, but I think Jarwin has a much safer, history of seeing like 4 or 5 targets in this game. So yeah, no, I definitely can get behind this. Like I said, tight end, you're either paying up for Ingram, in my opinion, or you should just go cheap. So,
all right, I got to follow Jeff again.
Okay, you got hit with the unfollow, refollow. Love it. Steve, Jeff, you guys are always holiday treats. And speaking of treats, Garion is going to come in for Thorn in My Side picks after reading Adam Levitan identify their championship winning plays for today.
Welcome to $1 Million Pick presented by Roman. ED Med prescribed online, delivered to your door at GetRoman.com. I'm Tyler Sullivan, and we're here to make you money. The goal, identifying players with the most upside for Sunday's main slate. Let's check in with our $1 Million panel, Reed Fowler and Adam Levitan. Reed, who do you think can have the $1 million impact this weekend? Give me a couple of targets.
Yeah, again with a $1 million name, Juju Smith-Schuster at $8,000. I'm going against the New Orleans Saints. This going to be a shootout, right? And this is kind of what we're looking for. He's seen 11 targets over the last 5 games. He's put up 40-point games, 36-point games. So we know that ceiling is there. He gets P.J. Williams in the slot, not that good. Gives up the highest rating in man coverage, Juju. That's his best coverage. And the Saints do go to that go to that defense. And so I like that matchup. Second one, Josh Reynolds, staying with the wide receivers here at Arizona at 4,600. He's always a good leverage play. He's always at this price tag, never really gets that high. He saw 12 targets against Philly. He's seen 9 targets in the red zone since Cooper Kupp has gone down. That's the preferred spot there. Really like it in this spot against Arizona. Again, attacking that slot. So those are my 2 guys.
Yeah, I think Juju's ownership will be a bit depressed after he burned a lot of people in that Patriots game last week. That's certainly interesting. I'm going to start off at the running back position where Nick Chubb gets a home game against this Bengals team, which has just been absolutely decimated by injury. They're going to go on there with Jeff Driscoll and Cody Core. I mean, they might not even have Tyler Boyd in this game. Alex Erickson, they're just a total mess. So I expect a lot of red zone opportunities, a lot of scoring chances, a lot of volume for Nick Chubb, who's just been so efficient. And then at the wide receiver position, I'm going to go down in salary a little bit to Robbie Anderson. And Sam Darnold, I think, has shown vastly improved play. Now gets a home game against the Packers team, which was just eliminated from the playoffs and starts a bunch of rookies in their secondary. I always loved Robbie Anderson from #team preseason fame. So those are going to be my 2 guys.
Thanks to our $1 Million panel. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you next week on $1 Million Picks presented by Roman. ED Meds prescribed online, delivered to your door at GetRoman.com.
Great stuff as always from Levy and occasionally Reed as well. But now we need some negativity in our lives. Just have to help make sure we're making all the right decisions on today's slate. That's the goal.
That's right. It's Garion Thorne's Thorn in My Side with his top fades for today. Look at that animation.
But good news, Mr. Positive Steve Buchanan is here to play devil's advocate. So let's get started. Garion, who you got, feeling a little prickly today about?
Well, as Steve said last week, I should point out at the top of this segment that I might be paraphrasing here a bit, but the segment that Steve called better than his own segment, Thorn in My Side.
How about that?
Let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger at $6,700. I get it. It's a high implied total for this game. Roethlisberger hasn't had those road issues we've seen in the past so far this season. In fact, he's averaging 340 passing yards per game on the road in 2018. These are all good things, but I just don't think that line is giving the Saints defense, especially their recent defensive performances, enough respect. This team has been exceedingly good across their last 6 games. Opponents have actually only scored on 12 of their 60 drives since week 10 against New Orleans. They're only allowing 5.5 passing yards per attempt over the last 3 weeks. That is among the lowest rates in the entirety of the league. And they actually, for the whole season, have the 3rd best adjusted sack rate in the NFL. I just don't see the Steelers getting 27, 30, 35 points in this game. I think this game goes under the number, and I think that affects Ben Roethlisberger's output.
Tell him why he's crazy, Steve.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play Ben Roethlisberger. Sorry, I was talking to my dog. Look, if you're fading,
one does, yeah.
If you're fading Ben, it's probably because of the salary, not because of the matchup. I mean, here's the thing. The Saints, you're not going to beat them on the ground, okay? So let's just eliminate the run game for this one here. Ben's going to have to throw in this game. I mean, I get it. He's expensive, but I think he makes for just such an excellent GPP play today that I think he's in tremendous consideration here. I mean, just the matchup for any Steelers receiver out of the slot against PJ Williams is enough for me to stack Ben with, Juju Smith-Schuster or someone like that, because they are so poor against receivers out of the slot. And then we also mentioned how bad Ben is on the road. If you look at his splits, at least from a fantasy perspective, it's been pretty even so far this year.
I said he wasn't bad on the road this year. I said that's not the reason I'm using. Got to listen to me, not talk to your dog so much, man. People are going to think you're crazy.
Can I talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was it.
Okay, cool. You just had to get that last word in.
Always.
All right, who's next, Garion and Steve? Please relay this to your dog.
Oh, please do. I'd actually let me know his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Blue. Yes, Philadelphia has been giving up tons of points to running backs the past couple of weeks, but if you look at where those points are being accumulated, it's coming through the passing game. 24 receptions to running backs across the last 2 weeks. There's still a relatively stout run defense when push comes to shove. Only 5 running backs have exceeded 100 yards against the Eagles so far this season, and 4 of the 5 have been Saquon Barkley twice and Zeke Elliott twice. So essentially, you have to be an elite running back to get there against the Eagles, because they still have the 3rd best stuffed percentage in the NFL. They're limiting opponent running backs to no gain or a loss of yards on 25% of rushing attempts against them. And, Alfred Blue might find his way to 20 touches in this game. Houston does like to run the football, but Donta Foreman's active. He's probably going to step into Blue's old role where he sees 8 to 10 carries a game as well. And Houston just does not throw the ball to running backs. That's not how this offense is built. Only 13% of their pass attempts this season have gone to the running back position. That is the lowest rate of any team in football. So, yes, Philadelphia is exploitable by running backs, but this is not the team built to do that. So, I'm not buying into Alfred Blue as a value play at 4-5.
Steve, what do you and your dog think of this one?
She's taking a nap. But, I mean, I don't know. Are people excited about playing Alfred Blue this week? I mean, yeah, he's in an okay matchup, but I don't know. I mean, if you just look at what Blue has done when he's carried the ball 10 times in a game, he's done it 6 times this season. He averages 43.5 rushing yards and 7.2 DK fantasy points. I mean, I get he's cheap. The matchup is okay, but Garen did a good job of explaining why I wouldn't really be excited about it. I mean, if you're looking in that range, I mean, Elijah McGuire seems like he'd be a pretty good option, just around the same price range there. I was never on Blue to begin with. I'm surprised that people are really into playing him this week. I just don't see it. Don't see it.
Anyone else wondering if Steve actually has a dog at this point?
Yeah.
Well, if you followed me, you'd know.
That's a great point. All right, last one, Gary. Who's a good fade this afternoon?
Well, Jeff brought this up. It's kind of a weird situation at tight end this week. Everyone's just going to be on Ingram, and it creates this divide at the position. But if you do want to pay up, I'm not paying up for George Kittle. I don't really understand how the pricing is breaking down this week, with Kittle being the highest priced at the position, $100 more than Zach Ertz, who leads all tight ends in receptions, in targets, every possible statistical category you could think of. He's basically on top of. And I'm not really buying the narrative that Nick Foles doesn't like Zach Ertz. That's not for me. I just think it was a weird game script last week. I'll buy in that he likes Alshon Jeffrey. That's fine. But he doesn't dislike Zach Ertz in any sense. I mean, Houston has been so exploited by tight ends the last 6 weeks, a 29% opponent target share to tight ends. he is in such a good spot where Kittle is going up against a Bears team that has not allowed a single tight end to exceed 50 yards so far this season. And even when they were sort of exploitable early on in the first half of the year through touchdowns, which, you know, are kind of capricious, but still 4 touchdowns in the first 8 weeks, they have not allowed one to a tight end since. I don't know why you would touch George Kittle in this contest. And if you do want to spend that money, just pay for Ertz, who's $100 less.
Steve-O, would you add Kittle to your kitty?
No. I mean, it's amazing. I was touting all last week, don't play George Kittle's in a bad matchup. Don't play George Kittle's in a bad matchup. Everybody played George Kittle. So I hope that was money well spent for all the haters out there. And look at that. Now it's another bad matchup for Kittle. Now we're like, yeah, don't play him. Yep, it's a bad play. Like, of course it was. I mean, Seattle against tight ends were good, and they shut Kittle down last week. Now he's in another bad matchup. But, you know, oh, now all of a sudden we all remember not to play Kittle here. I mean, look, it's the same scenario as last week. This is a week to pay down for tight end. I think everyone's on Ingram. And really, it's not that safe of a play. You really want to trust Eli Manning throwing at Ingram? Not really. I mean, Jarwin at 3,000. Money much well spent, I think, in that spot. Njoku, 3,800. Wildly inconsistent, but he's in a much better matchup this week. Even Austin Hooper, I don't really mind him at 3,700. But just, we saw what happened last week with Kittle when he got shut down. He still saw 8 targets, but he only caught 3 of them for 51 yards and 8.1 DK fantasy points. I feel like that's kind of the same production we could see again here this week. So, George Kittle, join the party over here. I was already off him.
Okay, good. Great party to be at. Lots of big games with playoff implications.
Me, Steve, his dog. What a party.
Yeah, we love. I mean, I saw Doug the Pug behind you there, Garion. So
always. Yeah,
a lot of pets. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. And there are lots of big games with playoff implications on the way. And I think we all got takes. You know, everybody's going to bring in their takes. And we all know who's got some takes. That's WFAN talk show host Mike Francesa. Adam, you caught up with him earlier this week, so enjoy.
Adam Kaufman here with Mike Francesa from Mike's on WFAN. And Mike, let's start local to you. Jets hosting the Packers, and neither team with too much to play for, unfortunately, especially for the Pack. I mean, that's not a surprise for the Jets. But could this be a statement game for Sam Darnold against Aaron Rodgers? This is a huge test for him.
You know, he made one last week. I think he gave everyone the game that they can go to the offseason on last week. So it'd be nice if he does it again. Fascinating thing here, just to show you when things come together. Here's a Jet team that doesn't garner a lot of respect. Here's Aaron Rodgers, who gets an incredible amount of respect and is playing in a game that doesn't have any playoff implications. The Packers are favored in their 8th road game in a year where they're 0-7 on the road. What would be the odds that a team would lose their first 7 road games and be favored to win their 8th game on the road, the only one they have left? And no Packer team has lost all its road games since 1956. Rodgers is playing, which makes them the favorites, which shows you what has to converge for that to happen. That's really a statistical oddity.
Giants are taking on the Colts, who looked dominant against Dallas last week, led by, of course, your guy Andrew Luck. You think Eli and the Giants have any shot in this matchup?
You know, there's an old theory about teams responding after they get shut out. Both the Cowboys and the Giants got shut out on the same Sunday. Look for both to respond. I think the Cowboys will respond in a game they need to win the division. I think the Giants will play well. I think this will be a shootout. I think the Giants will run it and pass it. I think Luck will pass it more. I think the Colts will win, but I think the Giants will be inside the big number. So I think the Giants awful week, and they played miserably in the shutout against Tennessee. They were bad from soup to nuts. Coach, quarterback, offensive line, tackling, you name it, even Barkley. They were bad all the way down the line. No Beckham this week again. But I think they'll play well in that they'll score a bunch of points, but I think they'll fall short.
Let's go with that other team you mentioned then, the Cowboys. Now, you already said you expect them to bounce back after being embarrassed by the Colts, but to what end?
Listen, they can't lose this game. They are playing Tampa, which is going to have a new coach next year. They're playing Tampa, which hasn't won on the road since week 1. And if the Cowboys win this game, they win the division title. Come on now. They have got to explode. If they don't win this game, going away, 37-17, 30-10, there has to be an investigation. You have to win this game if you're the Cowboys.
Patriots have dropped back-to-back games in December, as mentioned in a previous chat. It's been a long time since that happened. Now, they played the Bills and Jets to close things out, so they're going to get their 10-11 wins, should be 11. They're going to win the division for a 10th straight year. They could very well still get that first-round bye. But can this version of the Pats make any noise in the playoffs?
I don't think so. I don't think the defense has come together. I don't think Gronk is completely healthy. I think Tom is showing a little bit of his age around the edges. I don't think this is a Super Bowl team. I think the Pats have slipped.
A team that is forever rebuilding, but does actually look pretty good this year by its standards. I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns, a chance to get back to 500 this week. Now, sounds crazy, but could you say the Browns have one of the best outlooks for 2019 as, you know, we talk about, obviously, teams like the Jets rebuilding?
That still sounds crazy to me because I think their owner is a little bit of a guy who's a loose gun, and I don't know what he's thinking half the time. Let's see who they pick as coach. They have talent. They picked a quarterback. I think both Mayfield and Sam Darnold are going to be battling on Sundays for a long time, and they're both going to be big winners. I think they're headed in the right direction. I actually think right now they have more talent than the Jets. I don't know who they're going to pick as their head coach. I think I want to see what they do there. I don't trust their ownership. He's always been a little bit of a hard guy to figure, Haslam. But you're right. They have a chance to be a playoff team next year if they don't mess it up. Now the question is, will they mess it up?
Mike, one more chat before Christmas. We'll do it tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
We are back with DK Live's Reed Fowler and the fantasy girl Rosalie Michaels for our off-the-wall picks. So, Reed, please start us off. Who ya reaching for today?
Jeff tweeted out something, or Mayo did, and Jeff looks like a bobblehead, so I just got a little distracted. But
oh, wow.
Off the wall here, I'm going Philip Dorsett. The guys mentioned it a little bit with James White, who I also think is a good play. But Philip Dorsett now with Gordon out, like he saw an average of 6 targets the first 4 weeks, obviously when Gordon wasn't there. And sees a 16% target increase when Gordon is out. So, excuse me, a 16% target share when Gordon is out. I like that. 5 red zone targets in the first 4 weeks, a couple of touchdowns. Look, he's in a bad match with Buffalo. That secondary is tough, but he's going to avoid Tre'Davious White, which is obviously very good. That's probably going to go to Chris Hogan. So at $3K, especially if you want to pay up again this week for these high-priced running backs and maybe pay down elsewhere like quarterback, this allows you to get some of these guys in there, the Hopkins, right? The Juju Smith-Schusters, the Ezekiel Elliott's. Going down at $3K at the min price is something that I'm looking at, especially in this matchup. So give me Dorsett.
Hey, no Gordon. Dorsett can get a bunch of targets. How about you, Rosalie? Who are you reaching for?
I agree with Reed. You know, there's some value to be had. I'm actually going, and Buchanan's going to hate this because he already slammed him a little bit earlier. I'm going with Taylor Heineke at $4K. You know what? Yeah, everybody knows this is just a sweet matchup if you're going to take advantage of this type of situation. If you want to pay up for those other guys, like Reed said, you could get a great QB option for $4,000. That's just like bottom basement prices, right? I mean, he is competent. You look at what he did during the preseason, 24 of 36 for 23 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so, yeah, he's competent. He can also carry the ball, not like Cam Newton can, obviously. But he's got a great check down option with, the tight end there and, of course, Christian McCaffrey. So he's not going to have to sling the ball all the time. And Atlanta just gives up the most fantasy points on the year to quarterbacks, averaging about 20 fantasy points a game to QBs over the past 6 weeks. So 20 points at $4K, if you can count on that as a floor for him in this matchup, which I think you can, that's a pretty good matchup there. They also allow a lot of scoring per game and 251 passing yards a game. So I think this is a sweet little value play in Heineke.
Thanks, Reed and Rosalie. Please take a break. We're going to welcome Ed Malinowski back live from Las Vegas. For those of you just joining us, Ed's the manager of DraftKings' Sportsbook Hub operations.
Ed, Rams 14-point favorites over the Cardinals despite their 2-game skids. Where's the majority of the money coming from in this game?
It's still on the Rams. You mentioned back-to-back losses for the Rams. They want to get back on track and right the ship to go into the playoffs. Gurley looks like he's a go today, so that should help out. And hey, let's face it, the Cardinals have no motivation besides playing at home today. If they win, they could lose that first overall draft pick to the Raiders. So a couple of motivational factors playing into that line, and I think the public will continue to bet the Rams and at least include them in every teaser today.
Ed, the Saints line has moved up to 6.5 against the Steelers. Why the change there?
A couple of things there, too. The Saints had a very odd schedule. They're coming off the 3 consecutive road games. So getting them back at home probably will help them get back to their early success of the year. And coming off a lackluster performance against the Panthers, I think getting at home will help them a lot and has bumped that line up.
Chiefs are averaging 10 more points per game this season than the Seahawks. We know what that offense is capable of. But why are they just 2.5-point favorites?
Well, late in the season, sometimes when these teams clinch, you don't know the motivation. Although Kansas City does have positioning to play for. They have clinched. They're in the playoffs. They have been a different team since the Hunt suspension. But Seattle, they're 4 out of 5 wins now, and they're 4-2 at home. Always one of the toughest places to go play. So, yeah, the line looks a little off, but the spot really favors the Seahawks today.
Ed, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Tara Lynn's going to take a quick look at tonight's primetime game. Then our whole fantasy crew returns to look at over-unders.
I'm Tara Lynn with a showdown contest preview for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers both enter tonight's matchup not playing their best basketball. The Clippers got off to a hot start, but they have cooled down as they enter tonight's game, having lost 4 straight in 6 of the last 7. The Mavs on a losing streak of their own, having lost 3 in a row. Some added intrigue to this game will be the return of DeAndre Jordan to the Staples Center. The Dallas big man will face the Clippers in LA for the first time since leaving as a free agent in the offseason. Let's rewind back to Jordan's last meeting with his former team when he collected a season-best 23 rebounds to go along with 16 points in a 114-110 Mavericks victory. That was good for 53 DK fantasy points, his best output of the season. The Clippers are in the bottom third of the league in rebounding, so expect Jordan to get his fair share tonight. Jordan can be rostered as a captain in tonight's contest for $15,300 or in a regular spot for $10,200. We'll see if a little extra motivation can help the Mavs get back to their winning ways.
All right, quad box time. Reed Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, Steve Buchanan, and Rosalie Michaels. Welcome back, all of you. We are here to talk a little over-under. Colts, Giants, recently both shut out, but somebody's got to win today. I think that's generally how it works, except if you get a stupid tie. This game, 48-point total, over or under, Steve?
I've been debating this one for a while. I think this one has a chance to go under here. I mean, both teams have been great in the over-under. Giants 7-7 on the year. Colts 6-8. I mean, I think this game stays somewhat competitive, but it's not a shock that the Giants were so poor offensively. They didn't have Saquon Barkley going in the last game, so this is an area of attack where they can go against the Colts and get Barkley going here. But I'm having a hard time getting that this is going to be over. 48 seems kind of high, especially when a Giants offense is involved without Odell Beckham. So I'm going to go with the under.
Reed, you willing to go over?
Yeah, I'm going to go over here. If you look at away, right, as the away team there, 6-1, plus 6.2 differential in that spot. And we talked about it earlier this week. The Giants have a proclivity to hit this over number, even though we don't think it, right? They have, obviously, Saquon, Evan Ingram's in a good spot. This defense in Indy is susceptible to the pass sometimes. So I do like this to hit the over here.
You got to talk to your future in-laws. Like Buke said before, that's a petrifying scene.
Right? It's going to attack them.
I love it. Not as petrifying as that sweater. Also with the Boston Celtics sweater that you have that lights up.
All right, let's focus. Jeff, over or under?
You said it.
I know.
I'm going to take the under here. India is still a fast-paced team, so it does scare me a little bit. And this isn't exactly one of my favorite spots to bet or anything. But I'd still take the under. I mean, the Giants want to control the pace with Saquon Barkley. And they have a bit of an underrated defense, too. Pretty good at limiting teams against the pass. So I think even if they don't put up a ton of points or don't play that well, I'm not sure how many points Indy's actually going to put up. So I would take the under at 48.
Rosalie, you want to even it up or go under?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going under. But You know, because it looks like you think that Indy at home, they average about 30 points per game. But over the last 3 games, they're averaging 15.7. And they've gone under for the past 5 games. So going in that, I mean, because we're all counting on Indy to be the point scorers here, not the Giants, obviously. I just don't think they can do enough to get to 48. I think that's pretty high. So I'm going under as well.
Guys, the Vikings scored a season-high 41 points last week against the Dolphins. Today's line is set at 48, opposite the Lions. Jeff, over or under, and I believe that's a 48, not a 43. Am I right? 48, 43. Jeff, over or under?
I think it's actually 43, but...
Yeah, that's what I said, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I still like the under, even at 43. Look, Detroit is they just suck the life out of fun in the NFL, and they're really good at keeping games slow and ugly. One of those slower-paced teams. And, yeah, I mean, the Vikings might look like they're a fast-paced team, but look what they did last week. They tried to run the ball under their new offensive coordinator, and they're going to try to do it again. And I think the Detroit defense is a little bit underrated. They've actually played pretty well the last 4 weeks. So I think they're going to actually be able to limit the Vikings offense a bit here. And then I actually like the under quite a bit in this spot.
Rosalie, do you agree?
No, I don't agree with that at all. You know, we finally saw the Vikings offense we've been waiting to see, right? 41 points. That's what we've been talking about. So they're finally got their offense on pace. They know, they know the kind of formula that they need to do with the run-pass balance there. I think 43 is pretty low for this. I think a minimum of 43. He was saying that Detroit's defense is really good. Not at home, they're not. They're averaging almost 26 points per game at home. So I really like Minnesota to score a lot in this game, and Detroit's going to have to try to keep up, which they will be able to a little bit. So I think this is an easy over for me.
1 over, 1 under. Steve, where are you going?
Rosalie, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a good Christmas. Wow, this is such an under. This is such an under for me. I mean, it's hard to get excited about anything in this matchup. I mean, the Vikings defense is still legitimate. The Lions have held opposing teams to about 15 points over the last 3 weeks, and we've seen the struggles with this Viking offense as of late, too. And then Stafford just couldn't miss Stafford. I mean, he just couldn't get anything going against his defense before. That was the game he was sacked 10 times in a game. He has a bad back right now too. Just give him a couple of shots in the back. It's over with. I mean, yeah, this is such an under for me. I don't think it's close.
That was the nicest way of disagreeing with somebody that you've displayed all day, Steve. Great job. Reed, over under 43.
Yeah, all season. That's the nicest way.
All right, calm down.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Rosalie here to go against the guys, but I got to agree with the other two here. Like the Lions, I liked them in some of these spots, but like they just can't score, like Jeff was mentioning. And Minnesota now recommitting to the run, they have to, right? They have a guy, Dalvin Cook, that they can really exploit here. Like I know that Detroit's defense has gotten better against the run with Snacks Harrison, but at the same time, right, keep these guys healthy. For whatever reason, the Detroit Lions garner no trust to score points. They're averaging like 15 points for the last 4 games. So sorry, Rosalie, I'm gonna go under here.
That's okay. You can all be wrong. It's fine.
Oh.
I feel like I should start with Rosalie here because the Cowboys can clinch the NFC East with a win over the Bucs. Now, do you see this game going over or under 48, Rosalie? I know that you're a fan of Dak and the stack today.
Yeah, I'm going over. You know what? Dallas is a totally different team at home versus on the road. There's a 10-point difference in scoring, so people might be a little bit afraid of this 48 points for the over-under because of their shutout last week. But don't let it fool you, my friends. The Cowboys will score. Tampa Bay's defense, obviously, we know how bad they are. They give up 37 points a game away. They're terrible on the road. They're bad at home, but they're terrible on the road. And Dallas can really score at home. When they're in the star, it's just a totally different thing. And then when you look at the over-under history of both of these teams, Tampa Bay is 6-1 away, so they go over 6 times out of the 7. And the Cowboys are 5-2 at home on the over. So I really like the over here.
Steve, are you feeling just as polite?
Never. This is a really tough one. I was really struggling with this one. Like honestly, like, I feel like this is just a perfect number for this game. But I'm going to go with the under here, but I don't think it's going to be by much. I mean, Dallas has been stellar defensively against opposing quarterbacks and the run. And look, the Buccaneers, I mean, we used to pick on them early in the season. It really hasn't been as bad lately. I mean, they're still giving up points. Don't get me wrong on that, but it's not the blowouts that they were seeing earlier this season. And I just feel like this could honestly be like a 45, 46 point total game. So slightly under on this one, but it's going to be damn close.
Reed, how about you?
Yeah, with Rosalie here, I think this is going to hit the over. Look, all the differentials when they're at home, they're after a loss, and they're favorites, they're all in the plus category. You like this, right? You like that Tampa Bay can't throw the ball. They don't run the ball, so they're not going to slow it down. You like this over. I know Dallas's defense is playing really, really well, but after that loss and that embarrassment, I think they're going to come out swinging here. So I got the over.
Jeff, take it home.
Yeah, again, not really a spot I'm in love with, but I think I would take the over here. Again, Tampa's just, their defense is so bad. They don't run the ball, like Reed said, which I think is a really good point. So they're not going to burn a ton of clock. And I think there's a spot where Zeke could just, get in the end zone twice a couple times, and Tampa just comes back with some garbage points. So it might be ugly, but I would take the over here if forced to choose.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. Let's go around and get your slate-approved locks for the day. Rosalie, let's start with you.
You know what, my lock, I've already talked about him, but I can't get enough of Zeke Elliott today. You know what, the Cowboys average 130 rushing yards a game, and Tampa Bay gives up about that much. We already said I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and Tampa Bay just gives up a lot of fantasy points to the running back position. They're going to feed Zeke today, and he's going to be in that, I think, in the 40s in his fantasy points today.
Jeff, slate approved.
Look, I didn't talk about him all show, but if you read my article on the DK playbook, you know that Mitch Trubisky and Allen Robinson is going to win all the money this week. So play Allen Robinson, 5,400. No one's going to play him. San Francisco secondary, banged up. They suck. Allen Robinson.
Good plug.
Reed?
Yeah, for plugging articles, if you read mine, the running backs, Nick Chubb is someone that I love this week at 7,300. If you don't want to pay up for these guys, like high-priced guys have snubbed us in the past. It's been a trend, though, all season. Pay up for running back. He's going against the worst rush defense in Cincinnati. He's in a smash spot. Like, he's averaged 18 DK fantasy points since he's taken over that starting job in Week 7. So, Nick Chubb.
Steven.
Somebody's got attacked.
Yeah.
I don't need to plug my article.
The guy who reads background.
You already know about it, so I don't need to plug my article. But it's Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, look, he had 10 targets last week against the Patriots. Only had 4 catches for 40 yards. Don't let that performance scare you off. When he's in the slot, he's going to face P.J. Williams. He's literally one of the worst-ranked cornerbacks by Pro Football Focus. He's been scored on 6 times already this season. He's averaging 13 yards per reception, 73% catch rate. Smith-Schuster is right back in my lineup this week.
Let's go through some viewer questions. Well, we've got a few minutes left in the program before everyone gets to their football for the day. From Chad, this is Winston or Foles. What do you think, Reed?
I think Foles is actually, this is going to surprise Jeff. Foles in a GPP spot. You're going to pay down for this guy. Look, it can give you a lot of roster construction where you can pay up for these guys. And so I think Foles is actually in a good spot here. And I can't believe I'm agreeing with Jeff, but give me Foles.
Jeff, you on board still?
Say that again?
You always on board with your guy?
Obviously. I mean, come on. The Eagles have finally decided to start their best quarterback. You got to ride it.
Hey, Steve, Brate or Gronk in PPR?
Oh, man.
Oh, man, shoot.
God, both of them are in horrible spots. I mean, and both really haven't been performing. Brate's so touchdown, boom or bust. I guess I'm going to go with Gronk just because there's no Gordon, but I mean, good luck on either one.
Rosalie, you got a few to choose from here. How about Sony Michel, Jamal Williams, or Jalen Samuels? Which back do you like best, other than Zeke?
I definitely like Jalen. I definitely like Jalen the best out of all those. There's no doubt about it. Jalen's matchup, they're gonna run him a lot today. That matchup is great for him. The amount of touches that he's gonna get is gonna be a lot. I know I said earlier that I love AB too, but he's gonna get a lot of action today, Jalen.
Hey, Jeff, Kenny Golladay or Doug Baldwin?
I actually like both these guys for the upside. I think you just got to go with Baldwin because the matchup is so good. It's going to be fast-paced. You should force Seattle into more passing, so I take Baldwin.
Got one more for you, Reed. I think Njoku or Hooper?
Man, Njoku is probably my pick here. The only thing about that, though, Baker doesn't really hone in on one. But again, Cincinnati is a really good matchup for tight end. So you want that touchdown from Njoku, so give me him.
Rolling down here, Steve. Kenyon Drake or Jordan Howard?
I'll probably take Howard in that spot.
Alrighty, I think that's got to be it. That's got to be our show.
You know, we try and hit as many viewer questions as we possibly can. Yeah. Keep them coming in future weeks. I know you're kind of running out of NFL time, though. Can you believe 1 week left in the regular season? It's nuts.
I really can't believe it. Happy holidays, guys. The Sweat will return Wednesday, but stay tuned to our social media pages for more info during this week. You never know what could be tweeted out, what could end out there on the internet.
Oh, watch out.
Yeah.
More Francesa coming your way, too. You do not want to miss that.
And you know where to tune in on Wednesday. Twitter, Facebook, DK Live, YouTube, all those places that you know and love. The Sweat will be back Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.